Hey, Shining Alliance, it's Pastor Chris, and wanted to talk to you a little bit more. I'm not doing the devotional today. We're going to have someone else do that. But I want to talk to you more about what it's going to look like as we return to in-person church services. The first thing is we're going to be working on a graphic, a chart, something that we can put in writing that you can reference. That's going to be available on our website, shiningalliance.com, and you can click on the red banner, and it has our COVID updates. Now, it hasn't been updated for about a week, maybe a little bit longer, because there hasn't been any news yet. But once we get that in a way that you can read, you can understand, we're going to put that there. But there are a few things I'm saying every time I talk to you. The first one is we're not going to have any children or youth ministries when we first come back. It might be several weeks before we get back into those meeting modes as far as opening those things up. Let's just be honest. You're not going to get a first grader to socially distance from a friend they haven't seen for almost 2 months. That's just not going to work. So we're going to be intentional about that. The other thing is to remind you that when we do return to in-person services, we're going to have the seats together so families can sit together. We're not going to space mom and dad 6 feet apart, but we are going to ask that everyone keep 2 to 3 chairs in between them so that families are separated from other families. And then the last point just being we're going to have the rows much further apart. So the idea is that if you're standing and singing, then you're further away from the person in front of you and the person behind you. Now, to help this, the truth is if we do this, we're going to have a lot fewer chairs out. That's okay, we're ready for that. We're also going to be opening up the sanctuary for both 9:30 and 11. Of course, our 9:30 time is our traditional worship service, but 11 o'clock it's going to be open. We're going to be simulcasting the entire service so that whether you maybe want more room, which is completely fine, that's a 350 person sanctuary, so you can really spread out in there. Or maybe you get there on Sunday and you say, this is a lot of people, we're going to have across the street open. And again, remember that we're going to be doing some things differently. We're going to be having a shorter service to give us more time in between to clean. Also, that's going to keep our 9:30 service as they're leaving. Our 11 o'clock service hasn't arrived yet. So again, I can't believe I'm saying this. Do not arrive early to church when we first start reopening. So we've got a lot of things going on. We've got a lot of different things that are kind of up in the air. But we want to be communicating these things now because, again, this is going to be a choice for you and your family when you choose to return to in-person services. We're not shutting off our internet. We're going to continue to have an online presence. It's not going to be quite the same format that you've been seeing where it was a more intimate worship service. It's going to be back up on the stage. But I just want to let you know that, of course, we're not shutting off the internet. If you are part of the vulnerable population, I really encourage you to continue to worship online. And if you just don't feel comfortable, that's okay. Or maybe you're someone who you are around vulnerable people a lot at your job or in these other ways. It's okay to stay home in these times. But again, for those of us who are able to be there, the desire to be there, we're going to be opening up before too terribly long. And so we will have those in-person services complemented by online. Okay, that's plenty of things I've thrown at you. There's going to be more information coming out. But for right now, that's kind of where we want to leave it. And again, bear with us. We're doing things as quickly as we can. And we just can't wait to return to see each other in person. And now we have an awesome devotional from one of our people. I don't know for sure who it is, but all of our people are awesome, so I can say that statement with integrity. Have a blessed day.
I'm going to be in Romans 8 today, and while you flip over there, I'm going to tell you the story behind today's verse. Yesterday I went on a bike ride with my son, and he is about 5. Well, he is 5. Noah's 5 years old, and he's in front of me because he likes to be the leader. And I gave him an instruction, and he just lost it. If you live in my neighborhood, at any part of my neighborhood, you probably heard it. Because it was just all emotions and feelings and frustration. And I was pedaling behind him, and all I could think was, dude, no, you don't get, because for me, I was having a day yesterday, and my son's emotional reaction was exactly what I was feeling inside. But my adult mind was like, I feel that way, and I don't get to act that way, so you don't get to act that way. And we're biking along, people in the neighborhood are looking at us like, what's wrong with this kid? And the Holy Spirit really gently nudged me and was like, he trusts you as his mom. He understands his identity as your child, and he can be this way because he knows you love him. He knows that you're not going to leave him. He knows that you are here with him and that he can feel all these feelings in this space with you. right? That's not how my human mind, how my mind wanted to process that. I wanted to be super selfish, and I also wanted people to stop staring at us. And the Holy Spirit just reminded me, he drew me to this chunk of Romans 8. I'm going to start in verse 12 and finish out in verse 17. So then, brothers. So already this identity of brothers, sisters, family. So then, brothers, we are debtors not to the flesh to live according to the flesh. So our physical human nature beings. For if we live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. Sons. Family. And then it says this in verse 15. For you did not receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you received the spirit of adoption as sons, by whom we cry, Abba, Father. As we process things, emotions, thoughts, questions, God tells us we are part of his adopted family. And when we need to spew all those things that I watched my son do because he knew he was safe, because he knew he was loved, God tells us, you are my sons and daughters, and I am your dad. And you can bring to me all of that. I don't want this toned down version of it. I want I am mad and I need to process this. And what safer space to process that than in the arms of a loving Father. It ends out and it says, the Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and fellow heirs with Christ, provided we suffer with him in order that we may also be glorified with him. There's a lot of other parts of Romans 8 that we can unpack, and I would really encourage you to dig into that. It is some beautiful, beautiful truth. But right now, I want you to step back and I want you to think and consider and pray. How do I look at God as Father? Do you look at him that way? For me, has not necessarily always been the case. To be able to be, that's a happy scream, don't worry. To be able to be in a place where I can look at him and say, I can trust you with these big feelings, with these big emotions, because I am safe in your arms. If you don't view God that way, I would question and I would ask you to pray. What's going on in my heart, Lord, that I need to be able to bring to you and to trust you with the wholeness of what it is and the fullness of who you are.